finally made it. Who can believe it? Apologies for my lack of readiness, but this is how it rolls. Today, I am talking about what really is menopause specifically, and going a little bit about, excuse my dog coughing in the background, going a little bit into detail about actually what happens, why do we get the symptoms that we get, and also how can you help to reduce those symptoms, because in actual fact a lot of it is related to stress management. And I want you to, if you can understand how the process happens within the body, you will probably feel more in control and able to do more with it. So if you're the first time you're here to my channel, I get my words mixed up all the time. I put it down to menopausal brain fog. Welcome. I'm glad to have you here. And my mission really is to help you understand that you can actually go through the menopause naturally and that we're all different. So if you're really struggling, go and get help. However, I followed a natural approach. I work with a lot of ladies who've also followed a natural approach. I also work with ladies who are taking HRT. There is no one size fits all. You have to be your best supporter and your best advocate when it comes to the menopause. Thankfully, there's a lot of information out there right now which helps you make the right decisions. But HRT, if you really need it, can be hard to get hold of. The supply that you have access to might change. So I think whether you take HRT or not, you can still support your journey through the menopause with other lifestyle factors. So today is really about giving you a good understanding of why we get some of the symptoms that we get, and putting you in the driver's seat really, so that you can help reduce them if you want to. There is stuff we can all do. I know when I'm on point with my nutrition and my little halo shining brightly, I can pretty much get rid of most of my menopausal symptoms. However, I'm human, and at the moment I'm enjoying my wine and beer, so I am having quite a few menopausal symptoms. It's my own fault. I can't blame anyone else for it. But that is the difference about it. So firstly, menopause happens after we run out of our eggs. We have around 400 eggs each, and once we have shed our last egg, you will then no longer have periods. To actually be classed as menopausal, you have to have 12 months since the day of your last period, and your menopause is 1 day. After that, you are postmenopausal. Normally, most of your symptoms are going to be more erratic during the perimenopause. In fact, last week I did a Menopause Monday on the 4 stages of menopause. So if you're a little bit unsure about what stage you're in, go back and have a listen to that one. However, once you've used up your eggs, technically you have no more, and you are then going to be without a period, and you will become then postmenopausal. Now, you might have heard of the term estrogen dominance, and you're thinking, but it's really strange because my estrogen's falling. That's what everybody tells me, and my progesterone and my testosterone. Well, the reason for the estrogen dominance is our estrogen drops by around 40 to 50%. Testosterone drops by about 50%, but our progesterone drops by about 70 to 90%. That's huge. A massive drop, and that makes the relative strength and dominance of estrogen appear as it does. So while estrogen is falling, you're more dominant in estrogen, and that is what is the crux of this issue. The ratio is out of whack. So essentially what you need to do is to support your adrenal glands, because they are the body's backup system. So when your ovaries go into retirement, the adrenal glands are there to help to create more of your sex hormones, so your estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone. Not as much as prior to the menopause happening, because of course you're no longer giving eggs or shedding eggs, producing eggs, so you're no longer needing to create an environment to raise a baby successfully. However, they still perform a function in giving you some leftover, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And when your adrenals are tired, like most of ours are, because we live very stressful lives, we're busy, we're often caregivers, we're not looking after ourselves as well as we perhaps could do. Remember, stress comes from everything. It doesn't have to be stress from a terrible job. It doesn't have to be stress from walking down a dark alley at night. It can be stress because you're not eating the right nutrition. It can be stress because you're drinking too much alcohol. It can be stress because you're not sleeping enough. It can be low-grade stress that just accumulates over time. You know, like the straw that breaks the camel's back. You might be in a relationship that's not particularly fulfilling, but it's not bad enough to get out of. But that niggling in the background that goes on, that I wish he or she had said something. I wish they'd done this, or why did they do that? And you know, that low-grade stress. Open communication makes such a big difference. If they don't like what you've got to say, well, then it puts you in a different position, and you think, well, okay, am I willing to compromise on that particular issue? If it affects your top values, I would say don't compromise on your main values. However, you know, maybe you do need to compromise, but at least by bringing it out into the air, it helps to combat that stress. It helps to refresh the atmosphere, and it makes them, maybe they're just not aware. You know, I think we all expect everybody to read our minds and know how we're feeling, and sometimes they just need to be told. And sometimes there is no easy way to do it. So blunt can be, at least it gets it out there. So if you have got that low-grade stress building up and just niggling in the background, please make time to just address it. There is a great book by Daniel Goleman called Emotional Intelligence, and I think it's incredibly insightful, actually. You'll learn a lot about your own behavior, but you'll also learn how to talk effectively with other people too. So especially those near excuse me, nearest and dearest to you. Sorry, I'm still bunged up with cough and cold. So first and foremost, look after your adrenal glands. You'll probably heard of adrenaline, you've probably heard of cortisol. Those are created with your adrenal glands. That's again another reason why like fitness is so good for us, because it helps us to get rid of that excess of cortisol in a really, really functional way, as well as giving us a sort of splurge of feel-good hormones. But it does help us to counteract that cortisol that's continuously being pumped out. So being aware of the fact that your adrenal glands back up the job of the ovaries, and that it is more of a stress-related response, your symptoms are more of a stress-related response, might just help you think, okay, well, maybe I should look at the things that are causing me to have more stress in my life. Also bear in mind that our fat creates estrogen. Now you might think, oh, good, well, if I'm a bit low on estrogen, maybe I should put some weight on. No, because it will make you even more estrogen dominant. So if we're already in estrogen dominance, remember that, because it falls less quickly than progesterone does. Fat will exacerbate your symptoms because it creates estrogen as well. It also acts a bit like a sponge. It kind of hangs on to hormones. So fat in and of itself is not a problem. When there is too much fat, that is where the issue lies. I will go on in a minute about not following a low-fat diet, because that is really bad for you, and I'll explain why in a moment. But just be aware that if you've got excess fat, you are making your symptoms worse, because you're creating more estrogen, making you more estrogen dominant, as well as it acting like a sponge, which is why, you know, in overweight people, we have higher risks of breast cancer, bowel cancer, there are several of the cancers. You can Google that. I'm not going to go into cancer in any great detail, but just be aware of that. So why do you not need to go on a low-fat diet? Because fat is very, very important for us. Healthy fat is. And healthy fat, there's a lot of bad press about saturated fat. Saturated fat is a vital part of a healthy functioning body. It forms part of the cell walls. We need saturated fat. We don't need too much of it, but don't think that, oh, I'll just live on margarine. In fact, I would never eat margarine. Often it's full of other rubbish stuff, it's often trans fats, which are even worse for you. If you stick your margarine out in the garden, and even the rats don't touch it, that might be a sign. Maybe stick some margarine out to see if the rats will eat it, because the chances are they will not. They'll eat butter, but they won't eat margarine. So going back to the fat point, cholesterol is the precursor. Cholesterol makes our sex hormones. So while we don't want to be making a preponderance of, or we don't want to be making an excess of estrogen, it's also helping us to make testosterone and progesterone. So by going on a low-fat diet, you are pretty much shooting yourself in the foot. You're also going to be making your nervous system more stressed, because our nervous systems rely on healthy fats. Our brain is full of a lot of fat. We need fat on our myelin sheath to protect the neurons. You know, our entire nervous system needs fat. Our cellular structures need fat. So just make sure that you're eating a wide range of fats. When I cook with oils or fats, I tend to cook with a variety of them in the same meal. So I might use some coconut oil, I might use some grass-fed butter, I might use olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, because they all contain different nutrients, and they're also really good for, you know, having a wide range of different fats and oils is good for our gut health as well. I'm talking about healthy fats here, not rubbish fats. So just be aware, you know, you can always Google which fats are healthy, but things like avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, and grass-fed butter are all healthy fats. I use them a lot. I eat a lot of saturated fats. I don't have a fat problem at all. The other thing you can do is make sure that you are taking regular exercise, because not just for your weight management, it's terrible, fat management, weight management, and also your mental health. When you exercise, you are strengthening your bones and you are strengthening your muscles. You may find that since going through the menopause, you're noticing more cellulite. Often it's not cellulite, it's muscle atrophy and raised cortisol levels. So again, they're raised. We've got more cortisol being pumped out because our adrenals are under pressure already and they're trying to help do the job of the ovaries. It makes us lose our muscle mass faster. It also helps increase our risks of osteoporosis, so brittle bone disease. So while you might think, ooh, I'm getting all this flabby fat, it's not. It's muscle wastage. So it's just not being supported, so it looks like cellulite. So again, exercise. I mean, exercise is we should all be exercising, basically, strength training. But if you're getting what you think is cellulite, it's probably not. It's probably a lack of muscle tone, and that will only continue to get worse if you don't do anything about it. Raised cortisol levels also make our insulin spike in our body. So insulin is our fat storing hormone. Cortisol also it breaks down the proteins particularly fast in our butt muscles and our thigh muscles, so the larger muscles of the body, which is why often in menopausal women, you'll see they get little stick legs and then a round belly. That is often linked to higher cortisol levels. So again, it's about managing your stress levels on every level. Just vitamin E is something that is stored in the pituitary gland in the brain, but that also controls the ovaries and our adrenals. And when we go through the menopause, our vitamin E significantly drops. And so if you take a vitamin E supplement or you eat foods that are high in vitamin E, you can help to minimize the symptoms that you're going to get. It's found in plant-based oils, nuts, seeds, fruits, veggies, specifically things like wheat germ oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, almonds, peanuts, peanut butter, almond butter, beets, collard greens, pumpkins. There are loads of different sources of vitamin E, but if you're going to get a supplement, make sure you get a natural form that also includes, so you're likely to get the tocopherols in the vitamin E supplement. Make sure you get the 4-tocotrienols as well. So you'll see on the packet, it'll say 4 tocopherols. A lot of them nowadays have the tocotrienols as well. Just make sure that it does, because you want the balance of them both. That will be the best version for you. And it's just going to help you manage your symptoms more effectively. I take adaptogen herbs. They help us manage stress more effectively. They help the body balance cortisol levels. So if your cortisol is too high, it brings it down. If it's too low, in the case of adrenal fatigue, it helps to lift it up again. Because cortisol in and of itself is not bad. cortisol anti-inflammatory. We need cortisol in the body. However, most of us have way too much because we're too stressed and we're not looking after ourselves properly. So just bear that in mind. Again, the body's an incredible thing. It finds balance. Where we keep trying to knock it off kilter, the body's just like, come on, give me a break. And so it's having to sort of reel back in one aspect because of the extra stuff we're doing in our lives that is not promoting just a healthy life pod. So anyway, I hope that's helped. It's I thought it was just easy to break down the sort of the science behind it so that you understand if you can manage your stress more effectively, you're going to reduce your symptoms, but maintaining a healthy diet, which includes healthy fats. Because when we talk about, and in fact, belly fat also is largely a response to cortisol. It's like I mentioned before, the proteins tend to get used from our large muscles of our body, which again in turn spikes our insulin, our blood sugar levels. Again, I think we all hear of insulin and think, oh, diabetes, I'm going to die. And it's not. Again, the body's amazing at looking after itself. But if we could give it a hand at helping it to balance, it would be really beneficial for us. And you will find that your symptoms will reduce as a result of that. So thank you for your company. I hope that 2023 is an amazing year for you. I hope it finds you in good health or even improving health. And if you want any help getting started with your fitness or managing stress more effectively, or if you want to learn more about the adaptogen herbs, just drop me a message and I will send you out some information. So with that, thank you for your company. Make it a great week. Can't believe we're here already, and I will talk to you soon.